everybody. We are now going to move on to a new unit. We're going to focus on light painting. So similar to how the Toy Stories project was an expansion of the idea of shallow depth of field, this is an expansion of the idea of long exposures. And we touched on what light painting was a little bit when I first showed you that video when I was playing with the flame and kind of moving it around. We're going to now take it to a new level where we're using that to create an actual picture rather than just an experiment in the technique. So what we're going to do is we're going to use it to give you or your subject superpowers or magic. So let's take a look at what that is. So the goal is to use a long shutter speed or a slow exposure to capture the movement of light. In other words, we're painting with light. If the light is our paint and our brush, we're painting with it. For this assignment, you're going to determine what kind of superpower or magic ability your subject or model has. You will use light painting to show your audience his or her superpower. So if you look at these two pictures up here, there's like the thing floating over her head, and then this guy's got like the special magic hoodie. It looks like with that one, he took like a rope light and just went like that. And that's really cool. That's like a simple kind of motion you can do, but it makes a really neat effect. So here are some cool examples. This one is like a magical duel on the beach. And what you would have is you'd probably have 3 or 4 people, depending on how fast you can run. So my guess is probably there's 4 people. One person is in charge of the camera. There's the 2 models holding their position. And then one person runs in with the light to do from one side and the other one. And it may even be, maybe it's 5 people. Maybe there's one person for each light, depending on how fast the exposure is to run it through there. But it takes a lot of trial and error and practice getting that shot right. It helps that they're on a beach at night. It's a cool location. So if you just do this in your bedroom, you're limited by your space and it's just not going to work as well. Definitely go find a good location. This one is a little bit of a simpler composition in terms of location. This one actually could be theoretically just in somebody's bedroom, but it's like that whole kind of psychic thing, like the third eye. Well, I guess it's not a third eye since there's 5 of them, but it's that idea of like the world around you and the visions coming in. And it would be just doing that and then that and then that around. And they're kind of linked. You can see how in the picture, one goes to the next. So it's like it's one solid line that goes there all the time. Otherwise, you'd be doing multiple exposures, which is possible, but we don't have very good computer access this year, so we're not going to worry about that. This is pretty similar to the first one. It's like that magical duel, and the light is going into the guy. So you just have them pose, and then bring the light around, and maybe shine it on the people's faces a little bit to get that extra kind of catch light there and make them visible. And then she's got something on a rope, I think, that she's like spinning around, and maybe it's got a flame on the end of it because it looks like there's sparks coming off. But this is super cool, also in that kind of blue hour, and then in front of the water so that you get the reflection on the water, and it's got that kind of Doctor Strange, sort of like I'm doing my thing and whatever he does, to make the portals to go places. It's magic. We're making magic, or you're making magic. So those are some good examples of what to do. There's some thoughts about what not to do too, though, because those are kind of the like, oh, I'll make a heart. Don't make a heart. Like, yeah, that's cool. It's better than the zigzags, which also don't do, because we already did that in the previous experiment. But yeah, don't just make random shapes and stuff, because they just don't really do anything. They're not telling a story. Just like the Toy Story things, there should be some kind of a story here. It's not just like an abstract shape. The angel wings are a little bit better. At least there's something happening there, but like, just avoid those kind of like more cliched, maybe a little bit lazier kind of designs. Like anybody can wave a thing in front of a camera when you slow the shutter speed down. And most of us can probably figure out how to draw a heart. The rest of them, like those previous ones, took a lot of work, and it shows. So how do you do it? I'm going to give you the gist, but I'm also going to link a video from Tony Northrup that's about 5 minutes long where he walks through actually doing a light painting thing of a dude on fire. And I'll show you that in a second. Or I'll show you how to get there. But here's the gist. You need some kind of a light source, right? A cell phone, string lights, strobe light. Those little glow sticks, those can be great. That's what Tony Northrup uses, is a glow stick, because you can get lots of different colors and they're not so bright that they overexpose. The color still comes in. You set your ISO to 100 or whatever your lowest ISO is. Your camera may be 200. Maybe if you got a fancy one, it goes down to 50. Basically, you're going to be letting in a lot of light by doing a long exposure. So everything else has to cut that back down, or else it's just going to be white, right? So your ISO is low, it's 100. You're going to need a shutter speed of at least 5 seconds. Your camera can go natively up to 30 seconds. If you're going to do longer than 30 seconds, then you're going to need some kind of a self-timer, a kind of remote, which most of you guys probably don't have. But 30 seconds is plenty of time to make a good light painting. And so if you've set it to 30 seconds, or 20 seconds even is probably fine, then you just figure out what you need to do to make the exposure work. That's probably then increasing your f-stop up to 22 or something like that, so that's nice and dark. It's that idea of lots of light is coming in through the long exposure, so I have to cut that light down by making the aperture small and by making the camera as insensitive as possible, reducing that ISO. So it's a little bit of trial and error, just trying to find what exposure works and what speed you need to capture the motion the way you want it to. Your light meter is not going to tell you anything. Once it gets to a certain amount of darkness, the light meter is just like, I don't know. So with these kind of long exposures, the first thing you have to do is do a couple of just test exposures just to see, okay, like if I'm at 15 seconds, what's a good ISO and aperture just to get the picture right, the brightness right, and you just fire it off and you look at it like, okay, that's a little bit too bright. Let's stop that aperture down some more, or whatever it is that you need to do. You need a tripod or something to put the camera on. In a lot of the long exposure practice photos I saw, there was motion blur across the frame. So yeah, the shutter speed was set down nice and low, but if the whole picture is blurry, then it looks like you just didn't know what you were doing. So you've got to balance the camera on something, and you got to set it probably to that timer so that it goes off 2 seconds after you touch it, so that you're not shaking the camera at all. But it's a lot of trial and error getting your exposure, and then you go and you just shoot the pictures. So this is the one I was talking about, and I will put the link, if I can figure out how to make it in the YouTube video, so you're just like, here, click on this link. You can do that. If not, I'll have it linked to the class, and also I'll put the link in the YouTube video down below if you're not in my class and just happen to show up here somehow. It's a pretty solid look at how they make this picture, which is pretty cool. Like, that dude is on fire, but he's not on fire, because you're not going to set yourselves on fire for a photography class. No picture is that important. So your assignment is very similar in requirements to the last one. You've got to give me a draft folder where you've got at least 20 pictures that you've shot trying to get the one that you want. And that's experiments with different ways of doing the light. And all of them should be quality exposures. Like, no just completely underexposed or overexposed. And then your final picture. This is like the one that you've been trying to get with all those 20 pictures is the one that you give me in the full-size JPEG, by itself attached to the assignment. The template that you guys are going to fill out is pretty simple. It looks right like this. There's a title, and then you're going to give me the link to the folder that you made for all your light painting pictures, and then make a big picture right here and give it a title and the settings that you used, and then also hit in Google Classroom, add file, and give me the full-size JPEG. I'm getting more and more of those JPEGs. That's really exciting to see. Make sure that you are all doing that all the time. This should be a lot of fun. It's not going to be something that you're going to nail right off the bat. So you need to take some time to really work on it and give yourself a couple of different, give yourself a couple of attempts. And I don't mean just like a couple of pictures, but like go back on separate days to try and do it. And I'm going to build enough time into the curriculum for that, so we should be in pretty good shape. I really look forward to seeing what you guys come up with. Let me know if you have any problems. And good luck.